Hello everyone, Zelleranth here, and today I was going to kind of look at the two units that have been announced for Wuthering Waves 2.1. Now, I was kind of waiting for them to bring out what their attribute will be, as well as their weapon, which they now have shown. Phoebe looks like she's going to be a Spectro that uses the weapon a Rectifier, and then we have Brant, who is going to be a Fusion attribute using the weapon the Sword. Now, if you remember my last video when I was kind of talking about my priorities based on units aesthetically, the two big ones that I liked was Zanny and Phoebe. And then Brant was kind of, I was like, he'll probably be an easier skip for me depending on what his kit is. But then again, I've kind of grown, he's grown on me to a certain extent because I do like the pirate aura that he kind of gives, not especially now I've gotten through the whole story. But the first one we kind of think about is Phoebe here. And now I'm not going to discuss leaks because I know everything is out there on the leak side of things. We're only going to go based off the knowledge that we have on an official basis. Now we can, even though we aren't going to look at the kits specifically that are leaked out there or what they might potentially have, we can kind of infer what they will be based on the current echo sets that are available in game. And so we'll go ahead and take a look at that right now. So I'll go ahead and switch into game here. Now, the first thing is we already know we have Frosty Resolve, which is Corlata's. It's going to be, this one's for Glacial, so we already know that one's not going to matter for her at all. We have the Midnight Veil, which is going to be Rossia or Rakia's kit here. She's Havoc, so we don't care about that one as well. So we have Eternal Radiance, and this is one I actually have a lot of stuff for because this one is a Spectro. And so this one gives me strong indications that this is probably going to be Phoebe's main kit, because the other two are both energy regain ones, which she could potentially use, we don't know. But it's very likely, since a lot of us have probably been farming this one here, that it's going to be a Spectro that's going to be for her kit here. And so when you look at what the 5-piece is, since the first one's just a 10% to Spectro flat out, inflicting enemies with Spectro Fizzle increases crit rate by 20% for 15 seconds. Attacking enemies with 10 stacks of Spectral Frazzle grants 15% Spectro damage bonus for 15%. That speaks to me as being a main DPS. And that is one thing that I kind of did not want out of Phoebe. And one of the main reasons for that is I do have, if you've seen me when I kind of showed off my units, I have Gen C and I have an entire team built around her. And so a Spectro main DPS, as much as I like Phoebe, I like kind of her aesthetics and everything, and kind of probably the way her story is probably going to go is probably going to be pretty good, kind of the way it feels like it's setting it up. I feel like she'd be a unit that I like, but I definitely don't want another Spectro main DPS. And one of the big reasons too is She's definitely still got another DPS coming for sure that's going to be for her. Just based on looking at this one right here. This one increases the Resonator's coordinated attack damage, which Gen C loves, as long as they're not Spectro. And then upon critical hit of coordinated attack, increases the active Resonator's attack by 20%. So I know Gen C is getting a power increase later with another unit just from this one right here. So I don't want another Spectral main DPS. So if this ends up being Phoebe's, she's going to be a very easy skip for me. Now, if you're someone who didn't like Gen C and you skipped her and you want a Spectral DPS, we'll kind of have to see how it works out with her. I have no clue on what her kit's actually going to be. I know there's leaks, like I said, but we're not going to go over that. And so we'll kind of have to see how that works out if she's that. Now we have the other two here. Like I said, this one is a coordinated attack one. We know she's Spectro, and coordinated attack, like the main thing I think about for that is Gen C. But Spectro would suck as a coordinated attacker for Gen C, so I highly doubt they are specifically going to create one that fits with this one, just because it would be terrible to have, like this would not be good with Gen C at all with the Spectro, just because you don't get that advantage of getting extra stacks on her Forte gauge. And then you have Tide-Breaking Courage, and this one I'm kind of going off just the name, but I would suspect this is going to be Brant's. It's either going to be this one or that one. Now, both of these, that's the thing, both of these, if either of these are Brant's, he's going to be a must-pull for me, just based on what they are. First one, Coordinated Attacker. If he's Fusion, that means the coordinated attacks will work with Gen C. Great, absolutely great. I'll pick him up for my Gen C team. But then we have Tide-Breaking Courage. This one, just based on the name, just gives me that feeling that he's going to probably use this set, but we'll have to see. And this one is another Energy Regain plus 10% on the 2-piece. And then when you look at the 5-piece here increases the Resonator's attack by 15%, reaching 250% energy regain, increases all attribute damage by 30% for the Resonator. And so this makes me kind of feel like it's going to be a sub DPS just because of all the energy regain in it. Now, being fusion, I think that he's going to be extremely good with Shang-Li team just because she's a fusion unit, and she, I believe, does not have a S tier, or not a S tier, but a SSR sub DPS that fits her yet. I wasn't a big one getting into Chang-Li. I skipped Chang-Li. But my guess is that he may work extremely well within her teams, but sub DPSs in general have been really good on the team. So I don't know if he'll fit in with the Gen Z team. We'll kind of have to see. But I do like that it has a lot of attribute bonuses to it. The energy regain is looking pretty good. And one big thing is I'm probably going to be picking him up simply because sub DPS and supports are my bread and butter when it comes to picking up units. I like to have that flexibility on my main DPSs. And what I mean by that is I want to be able to pick up the main DPS that I like when they come out and already have the entire team ready to go for them. We've kind of seen that with Corlata. Corlata came out, she was ready to go. I already had Zenshi as the sub DPS for her, and then I already had Shorekeeper, and I have Verena as well, but I have Shorekeeper and Verena. I have her full team ready to go, and so easy pull for her. Didn't have to think about it. Didn't have to pull Vergency, who's also on this current banner, and so I was already good to go for her. And it's going to be the same situation with Brant for a lot of people. We might already have his team out there with Chong-Li. And if you already have Chong-Li, he's going to be an easy pickup. But even if you don't like Chong-Li, or you don't have Chong-Li, being a sub DPS / support in any capacity, there are going to be other future fusion units. And I feel like support units are going to be less likely to be power crept or replaced in the future within teams they come into. And so, and there's another very likely, I don't know how far in the future it's going to be, but there's also a very likely fusion user we'll get in the future, which will be Scar. Now, he's been talked about being another unit in the future for a while now. It was suspected we would have had him already. But Scar is a potential one. They've already basically shown that we are going to potentially be getting people that are bad guys in this game as resonators to use. So Scar most likely will come in the future. And if he's a sub DPS, because I feel like Scar would be a main DPS, then he would be a perfect sub DPS for him, depending on what he does and what he supports. And so based on that, I feel like in my scenario, Phoebe is going to be an easy skip. I don't want to replace my Gen C. I already know I'm getting another support unit most likely for her with this kit right here, whoever uses this. And I like my supports. I like my units. I like my flexibility to build synergetic teams. And so Brant is going up there on my priority list. And I think it'll be a good pickup just about everybody. Now, I will do a separate video when we actually know their kits on the official basis. And then I will kind of make my own priority list because I know a lot of people seem to like those. But just based off what we can infer in game, Brant's the higher priority of the two. Now, if you don't have a Gen C and you do like Phoebe, I think she'll be a great pickup if she's a main DPS. It'll be unique for the Spectra, and we'll have to kind of see how her kit works because I'm guessing the next Spectral main DPS is not going to function in the same way. Well, it's highly likely, like extremely likely, they're not going to rely on coordinated attacks like Gen C does. And so maybe she'll work a lot better with other Spectral units. So you will like having, say, Shorekeeper with her or Verena with her because you don't care about having off element to build up her Forte gauge. Maybe she'll have attacks where she actually works well with other Spectral units, and then we may get a Spectral sub DPS that comes in that'll work with Phoebe, but not Gen C, simply because you want that pure element for, like when you do the tower and the weakness is Spectro. She may be better at it because then you can just bring in a full Spectro team. But if you have Gen C, I think she's going to be an easy skip, just because you want to make sure you have as much coverage as you can in all the elements. But yeah, that's just kind of some of my thoughts on it. I think Brant is going to easily be on my list now of somebody to pick up. I originally did not have him, and I had kind of Phoebe, and Phoebe gave me the more support vibes than Brant. But we'll just have to see. I mean, I don't know what's going to be happening. But yeah, that pretty much covers it. If you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.